Hey y'all, what's up? Jared Hoffman here with the Better Than Less Than podcast. You're gonna see me very disoriented because I'm all over the place right now. I got a lot going on, but I'm here to bring you this edition of the Better Than Less Than podcast, where we are going to be talking all about basketball. We got a lot of drama in the CIAA with the team that could potentially pull off the championship double. We have some heated competition in the SIAC, particularly on the women's side of things, with numerous teams at the top of the standings that could potentially challenge for the conference championship. And there's a team on the women's side of things in the NAIA that is causing a ruckus. So that's what we will be talking about today on this edition of the Better Than Less Than podcast. I really don't have time for my intro. I didn't really have time to say all that. But, you know, first we're going to start off talking about the women's side of the CIAA with, can Fayetteville State pull off the championship double? And the women's side will be the biggest question because Fayetteville State's biggest competition, Winston-Salem State, is currently riding a 16-game win streak, and Winston-Salem State just got its biggest win thus far of the season, beating Claflin 50-41. Won that game wire to wire, did not trail at any point in that game, led by as many as 16 points in that game. No player in double figures in that one. Maya Charles, after missing the Shaw game on Saturday, came back and had 6 points, 7 rebounds, and I believe 3 blocks in that one. Not sure of how accurate that stat line is. I'm going off memory, but had a pretty good stat line coming off the bench in just 17 minutes. Had a pretty good stat line in that one. But yeah, Fayetteville State is currently, despite Winston-Salem State's 16-game win streak, they are hanging tough with Winston-Salem State. They're 13-2. Winston-Salem State 16-1. Fayetteville State has won its last 6. They just beat Livingstone 64-55 for their 6th straight win. So Talia Trotter, who feels like she's been there forever, had a big game in that one, 14, 9, and 5. In that one, 10 points from Talia Steffens. So Tyrese Brown, he has this team where they always are, in championship contention, and they will have a matchup against Winston-Salem State, so we will learn very quickly. I don't think we'll have a decided who has the advantage, coming from this matchup this Saturday, which will be in Fayetteville. Winston-Salem State will be going on the road to face the Broncos in that one. So I think we'll learn something, but I don't think we'll have all the answers, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? This is, at the end of the day, they'll say all the right things. They'll say, "Oh, this is just another game on the schedule," which technically it is, but this could determine the first place in the division. Not could, will. This will determine first place in the division for the time being. And I think both teams are on a heater right now. So somebody got to. This is a collision course. Somebody's run got to stop. It's either gonna be Fayetteville State's or it's gonna be Winston-Salem State's. I feel like, the job that Winston-Salem State has done under Tierra Terry in her first season back with her alma mater after coming back from Virginia Union, it's remarkable. This is a Winston-Salem State team that these 16 wins far surpasses their win total in the past 20 years. They have not had 16 wins in a very long time. And they look primed for a 20-win season, which is something they have not done in a very long time. And again, something they have not done, win a CIAA championship. They have never done that. You think a historic program like Winston-Salem State, who's won championships in football, they won championships in men's basketball, but you just think that they win championships on the women's side, but no, they have not. They have not done it. And this year is their best year to potentially do it. And they have a chance to catapult them into further contention with the win against Fayetteville State. That'll send a big message to the CIAA that your two biggest competitors in the division, they already knocked off Claflin yesterday, and now you have a chance to knock off Fayetteville State. By the way, they beat Claflin on the road. I understand Claflin is struggling right now, but that's still a team that you got to worry about come tournament time. So, yeah, and they beat Virginia State, who's at the top of the CIAA North. So, but as far as Fayetteville State's chances of pulling off the upset, I mean, this is a championship-minded team in Fayetteville State. They know how to win, and they know how to win at the right time. So no matter the results of this game, I don't think that's going to do anything to their bottom line, which is, getting to the championship game and finding a way to win. So the biggest competition easily that Fayetteville State, I believe, will have to deal with is Winston-Salem State, and they will have a chance to do some research this upcoming Saturday. So now shifting over to the men's side, where you have Fayetteville State, I believe right now, even though they are behind Claflin in the standings, I feel like they have the advantage over Claflin on this side. Devin Hohen in his first season at Fayetteville State is doing an incredible job of, getting his team in. And it helps that he brought a lot of the guys that he had at Bluefield State over with him to Fayetteville State. Miles Pierre is, having a very good stretch in the season, had over 20 in let me get the actual totals before I just start talking. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Bluefield. I'm thinking of the guy that's actually on Bluefield State. my bad, y'all. Terrell Williams had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists for Fayetteville State in their 90. By the way, it was a 96-80 win against Livingstone is what I'm talking about. I will talk about Bluefield State in a second. The guys that are actually on Bluefield State right now. But Fayetteville State, you have like I said, Terrell Williams with 19, 9, and 4. You had Larry Howell with 14 and 6, which is by his standards, a pedestrian game. He had a stretch of multiple 20-point games, had 24, 17, 20, 32, 23, 23. So 14 by his standards is a bit yawn, what I'm saying? But it's still a very good game, and then Darius Bobin with a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds, so Fayetteville State really starting to put it together. Claflin, it's a 2-team race at who's going to get the 1 seed in the CIAA South between Fayetteville State and Claflin. Claflin is on both sides, one of those teams that you can never sleep on. You know what I mean? They're extremely well coached. They have a lot of talent from top to bottom. And yeah, they are one of the teams that you just cannot sleep on. They're currently top in the division right now. Brian Dunlap has been incredible for this team for years now. They've always been a team. If you watch them during the tournament, they are a tough out. But there is a good opportunity for Fayetteville State to pull off this championship double. They have some teams, on both sides that they're going to have to look out for. On the men's side, of course, Virginia Union, who I believe just lost. Not believe. I watched the game. Bluefield State just took them down in what was a surprisingly dominant win. I just wrote the recap for it, and I already forgot what the score was. But it was a one. I think it was 9. Jesus. Let me look this up. It was A 75-57 win for Bluefield State. Miles Pierre, he was actually there, had um, 26 points, season high, 7 3-pointers. He has been on a heater from deep. Has Miles Pierre has hit 16 of 29 3-pointers in his last 3 games, while the remainder of the team in that same stretch is 6 of 33. So he has really been the offense for Bluefield State. So I think Bluefield State is always a team that they're not going to have the most impressive regular season record, but come tournament time, they turn it on. And even though they lost Jordan Hines, their career leading scorer, the reigning CIAA Player of the Year, and they moved on from the head coach that led them to all that tournament success that they had in the past few years, winning, making it to the championship game last year, overachieving in the past couple of years before that, making it to the second round and even the semifinals in the past few years, taking down the 1 seed, after losing all of that, bringing in Luke Delagio. I hope I'm saying his name right. I apologize. But yeah, bringing in a new coach, bringing in a host of new talent. They got talent all throughout the CIAA. A bunch of former CIAA guys coming into their roster, and they find a way to make it mesh. It helps when you got a great coach like Luke, like Coach Luke, and you got talent like Miles Pierre on your roster. So Bluefield State will be a tough out. Virginia Union will be a tough out. And of course, you got to deal with Claflin, who's in your own division. But to answer the question, can Fayetteville State pull off the double? Absolutely, they can. If I were to put a percentage on how confident I am that they would be able to do it, because I believe, who was it? I believe it was Fayetteville State that had a chance to pull off the double. What was it, a year or two ago? No, it was last year. I believe it was last year. Virginia State's men knocked off Fayetteville State and ruined the chances of no last year. No, I'm sorry. That was 2 years ago. Last year, Virginia State beat Bluefield State in the championship game. The year before that, it was Lincoln beating Fayetteville State. Lincoln's men beating Fayetteville State, and Fayettille State's women winning it. But it was the men who lost to Lincoln, and what was a hard-fought championship game. And I should have remembered that off top because Lincoln fired their coach after winning that championship. Shout out to Julius Hodge. You're doing a great job with Lincoln now, or with the technically quite struggling, right now. But yeah. So there, I can't remember the last time a team had a championship double. I can actually look that up right now to see when was the last time a team put off a championship double. It's been quite a while. There have been some teams that had chances to do it. Like I said, Fayetteville State a couple of years ago did. But yeah, if there was a team that had a chance this year to pull off that championship double, it is Fayetteville State. Both teams are currently on significant win streaks right now and playing their best ball when it matters most. As we're a month away from the tournament. So, and we got some matchups against the two top teams in the division on both sides coming up fairly soon. So we'll see. So the last time the double occurred was in 2018, and that was by Virginia Union. Yes, it was Virginia Union in 2018, the last team to pull off the championship double. So it's going to be a tough task for Fayetteville State, but they are the best team for the job so far this year. Now let's take a look at the SIAC standings on the women's side, and we see a lot of parity. I'm not sure if you can really can really see that. I hope you're able to. Let's go into full screen just in case. I hope you can still hear me. But you got Everett Waters at the top of the SIAC East right now. currently sporting a 11-3 conference record. And not far behind are a trio of teams in Clark Atlanta, Albany State, and Allen, all sporting 9 conference wins. So a log jam for second place right now in the SIAC East. Eric Jackson, I believe it's Eric Jackson. I don't want to, let me make sure. Edward Waters is doing a tremendous job, right? Yes, I don't know why I doubted myself. Eric Jackson coming over from Rust, has this team looking like a championship contender right now. Right now they are the favorite in the East, and it could. I believe it'll come down to between them and Clark Atlanta. Right now, they are the two best teams in the division. I think division play has kind of shown the separation between the teams in the top four. So yeah, I think that's going to be the separation. I think right now you'd have to say Edward Waters is the favorite to come out of the East. And if they can get one of those teams in the West, because the West, it's 3 teams. You got Miles Lane and Tuskegee, all with 10+ wins, and everybody else is just like, decoration. So, you know, uh, but Miles, the defending champions, no championship hangover whatsoever, 14-1 in conference, 16-2 overall, have won all of their division contests, including against Lane, handing Lane their only division loss of the year. I think this is a heated conference. I know that the SIAC football gets all the coverage, and SIAC basketball kind of falls by the wayside of not only what the football provides, but CIAA basketball. But there's a lot of great competition going on in the SIAC. And yeah, definitely looking forward to see how the conference championships play out. And well, first of all, the rest of the regular season, how that plays out, because there's still some big matchups uh, coming up in the SIAC. You know, Edward Waters this today actually at 5:30 they will be playing against Lane. If you want to watch that one, you go to SIAC Network TV SIAC Network TV and put /EWU Tigers to watch that one. 2 of the top teams in the SIAC, Edward Waters and Lane, going at it. So I think that could potentially be a SIAC championship preview that I think you fans will want to watch out for. Yeah, so some interesting games down coming up in the SIAC, and we'll see how as the season goes on, we continue to build toward conference championship season. Who sets themselves apart from the pack? Last thing we're going to talk about is the Langston women's basketball team, currently riding an 8-game win streak. I believe their last win came yesterday, or let me make sure for sure. Their last win came against John Brown. They play today. They actually play today against Panhandle State, looking for their 9th straight win. Do the SIAC collaborate with CIAA like the MEAC and SWAC? I don't think there's not like a formal like agreement of collaboration. They did play against each other during the CP3 Classic. Morehouse played against, I believe, Fayetteville State, and I forget who else they played against. So in the CP3 Classic, they play against each other, but I don't think there's like a MEAC SWAC challenge type of agreement. You know what I mean? I don't think they have that, but they do play against each other. both in football and in basketball. So no, there's not technically like an agreement of the SIAC and CIAA is collaborating for this game or a home and home series or nothing like that. But they do play against each other from time to time. So technically, no. Okay, back to Langston, who is currently riding an 8-game win streak. Their last win came this past Saturday against John Brown, 76-52. Langston currently one of the, well, not one of the top, one of the top defensive units in the NAIA. Currently second among all teams in points allowed, just below 51 points per game. Chris Vincent, coming to this team from after being an assistant with the men's basketball program, helping them get to the national championship game a couple of years ago. He has taken over this team, and after years of not being able to set themselves apart, in just 2 years, they look like a completely different team. Thank you, Ellis Connor. It was FSU and Livingstone played Clark Atlanta and Morehouse. Thank you so much for that. Chris Vincent has really turned this team into a championship unit, and it just goes to show the kind of talent that Langston had on that men's coaching staff. You really got to have a lot of coaching talent to make it to a national championship game, and that's what and Chris Vincent really has this women's basketball team looking like they could potentially get to a national championship. Chris Wright, came to the men's basketball program from Talladega after getting them to the national championship game, and then did it on the men's side. And he still has them, even though, the national championship game, it didn't end like they want to. They have continued to stay in striking distance. Now they are a little bit further from that goal than they were 2 years ago, but the men are continuing to keep themselves afloat despite all the changes that have happened in their coaching staff, and with particularly with Chris Vincent going over to the women's basketball team, being the head coach of that team. But both sides, continue to play at a high level. And Langston, like I said, one of the top defensive units in the country in the NAIA, and has some pretty good. They not only preventing them from scoring, but one of the best at forcing turnovers as well. They force about 23 and a half turnovers a game, and that. So, yeah. Langston's women is a team that you'll want to look out for come NAIA tournament season. Have about 3 scorers averaging over double figures, led by Janiyah Tucker, who's averaging 15 points per game this season. So I think they're pretty much the favorite to win the Sooner Athletic Conference. I think that I don't want to say that's a given, because I have to do my research on the other teams in the Sooner Athletic Conference to really get a sense of their chances. But looking at it from a numbers perspective, they absolutely are the favorite to win the Sooner Athletic Conference. And I don't want to say it'll be shocking if they don't, but it would. So Langston, you'll want to look out for them today. They play against, I just said it too, Panhandle State. That game will be on the Urban Edge Network. So urbanedgenetwork.net to watch that one. Go to live events. It should pop up. The game starts at, I believe that is Central Time, 6:00 p.m. So would that be 7 Eastern? I think. I'm assuming. Yeah. I can't I can't tell the time. But Langston versus Panhandle State. Langston looking for its ninth straight win. So tune in to the Urban Edge Network to support them. And then on the men's side, they have Panhandle State as well, trying to bounce back after suffering a loss to John Brown on this past Saturday. So that game will also be on the Urban Edge Network. So support the Langston men's and women's basketball team who have national championship aspirations. And so that's going to be a team that you're going to want to look out for. Two extremely well coached teams and loaded with talent. They a couple of years ago, I believe one of the players that was on the national championship team for the Langston men's basketball team, he went D1 and was averaging 20 in NCAA D1. So that shows you the level of talent that Langston has, that they have guys that are NCAA Division I caliber players. So tune in to Langston because you're going to see some incredible play from top to bottom. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Better Than Less Than podcast. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. If you can, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the HBCU Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on all of our social platforms. Search up all of them. Search up HBCU Sports on all of them. I guarantee we will pop up. And you can always go to hbcusports.com for all the latest news in HBCU Sports. Until next time, I'm Jared Hoffman. See you guys.